As this year is winding down, we reflect on what's come and gone in the last 12 months, and we look ahead to see what's yet to arrive, maybe in wonder or in bewilderment. But specifically something I've seen around recently, a sentiment we often see for the Switch around this time of year and into the winter, is that the following year looks barren because we haven't seen enough Nintendo first-party IPs be announced yet. And I'm here to tell you, if you feel that way at all, stop it. And here's why. Let's talk about it. The Game Awards have not yet happened at the time of recording this video, so there's a pretty good chance that by the end of 2019, there would be at least one more game dated for 2020. But as of now, I can't bank on that, so we'll take it out of the equation for the time being. Also, this isn't specifically a predictions video for 2020 games, because AJ did a lot of that already in his video a bit ago about what games will be and might be releasing for the Switch in 2020. Check out that video above. Instead, like I said, this video is the reason why we don't need to be worried about the amount that we do or don't know right now. Actually, here's what we'll do. I'll go ahead and give you the quick answer right up front towards the beginning of the video, and then most of the time that we'll spend will be kind of delving into what that means and unpacking it. And then right at the end, I'll give some more kind of predictions or thoughts on 2020 and all that stuff. Does that sound okay? I mean, the more you watch the video, the more it helps our channel, so that would actually be pretty helpful. But you know, you do you, I guess. Merry Christmas. Let's do this thing. So there's other small reasons that we'll get to, but the main reason that our current lineup of dated games is not worrisome at all is this. It's been this way every year. That's it. Plain and simple. Now, I will state, as you may be thinking to yourself, that just because of past trends, that doesn't necessarily mean that 2020 is automatically going to be a great year. Because, I mean, the possibility technically is there that every single game that's announced right now is the only games coming out in 2020. I don't think that's likely at all, but it's possible. Or equally, maybe we get more games announced, but they're bad? I don't know, you get the point. Hopefully at least recognizing those criticisms will allow us all to be able to move on with the video. Okay, so what do I mean it's been this way every year? Well, let's take a look back. And obviously lots of games come out every year, but what we're most interested in are generally Nintendo Switch exclusives that are aimed at core gamers. So we'll skip over the labos for interest reasons and games like Dragon Quest XI's that Nintendo published in the West, but are by no means console exclusives. So let's start at the beginning. In 2017, we got these games. But going into that year, we only knew about these ones. That is Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Odyssey, and Splatoon 2. And to be fair, we didn't even know whether Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Splatoon 2 were ports or a brand new game. We technically knew nothing about any of these games, actually, besides a ton on Breath of the Wild and the little gameplay teasers from the first look trailer. For those of us who really were paying attention right at the beginning of the Switch lifespan, it only felt like we knew more about it going into 2017 because the presentation was in January, right at the beginning of the year. But Nintendo's been known to have directs to kick off other years as well. So although we didn't know barely anything going into 2017, we did learn the majority of what that specific year had to offer right at the beginning. The Switch presentation announced 1-2 Switch, Snipper Clips, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Splatoon 2, Fire Emblem Warriors, Mario Odyssey, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for 2017. Of course, these games all did launch within 2017, and the only other two games that were announced and released within that year were Pokken Tournament DX and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. But of course, there were also several games that were announced in 2017 that didn't come out until a later year or still haven't come out at all. But we'll talk about them in the years that they actually released. Speaking of which, 2018. In 2018, we then got these games. And when the year kicked off, we only knew about these ones. Which again, may feel like a lot fewer than you remember. And you'll see later that we know about more Nintendo exclusive 2020 games now, even without the Game Awards, than we did for 2018 before the new year. Bayonetta was the first example of a game that was announced at the Game Awards, and that one proceeded to release only 2 months later. Then, although Kirby Star Allies had gotten shown during E3 of 2017, it wasn't dated until the Nintendo Mini Direct in January, at which point it received a release date of March 16th. And the final game we knew about ahead of time was Octopath Traveler, which didn't even have a release window until well into 2018. And again, I said we're doing console exclusive, so this one definitely still counts, even though it came to PC earlier this year. But that's all of the games that we even knew existed for 2018 before the year actually got going. In the beginning of the year, we learned about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze port, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, Sushi Striker, Mario Tennis Aces, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And once E3 time rolled around, we saw Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Party, and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Before we move on, I do know that all in all, 2018 did feel like the most underwhelming year thus far for the Switch, at least as far as first-party titles were concerned. But even though 4 out of these 11 games were ports for Wii U owners, they were brand new for just about everybody else, which is a lot of people. But even more so, this was the year that immediately followed 2017's hit success of Stardew Valley and Golf Story and a bunch of other indies on Switch. So 2018 was jam-packed of great indie games, which I know isn't what the conversation's about, but you know, it factors in, of course. And excuse or not, this was also the year of Labo, so do with that what you will, but we will move on to 2019. This past year, we got all of these games, and going into it, we only knew about these ones. Yoshi's Crafted World had first been shown off at E3 2017, but kept quiet for almost 2 years, then suddenly got a release date on Twitter just 2 months before it came out. Fire Emblem Three Houses was shown even earlier at the Switch presentation in January 2017, but it got pushed back several times so that it could be the simply amazing game it turned out to be. Travis Strikes Again was also in that presentation, but it was not quite as wonderful. Also, Daemon X Machina was shown off at E3 2018, and then New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe and Luigi's Mansion 3 were shown in the 2018 September Direct. Finally, Marvel Ultimate Alliance was announced during the Game Awards in 2018 with a date to later follow. Safe to say, we actually did know quite a bit going into 2019, but if I'm being honest, that left far fewer surprises during the year itself. That's not necessarily bad, but it is something. I don't know, we'll see. During the year, we did learn about Tetris 99, Box Boy and Box Girl, Super Mario Maker 2, Astral Chain, Kirby Super Clash, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Ring Fit Adventure, The Stretchers, and Pokemon Sword and Shield. Although that last one is debatable since we knew Pokemon Gen 8 was going to be coming out in holiday 2019 anyway. But do you see what I mean about surprises? Mario Maker 2, Link's Awakening, and Astral Chain were the only ones of those that were actually big surprises during the year itself. But they were all in the Direct at the beginning of the year, so the rest of the year we were just kind of riding off what we already knew. So that's something to think about as we come up to our upcoming year, which is 2020. Finally, we get to this year, and here are the games we know so far. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore, a port of the Wii U Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei crossover RPG, coming on January 10th. Animal Crossing New Horizons, the new Animal Crossing game that we first learned about in 2018 September Direct, but got pushed to 2020, is releasing March 20th of 2020. And then, with no dates but release windows of 2020, we know about Panzer Dragoon Remake, exclusive to Switch, No More Heroes 3, which should follow in the footsteps of the first 2 mainline games, and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which is a much better looking remake of the 2010 Wii title. And then, of course, probably whatever we learn at the Game Awards later today, which I hope is something new and/or Breath of the Wild 2 for 2020. But even if that's not tonight, I've got a whole video talking about why I think Breath of the Wild 2 would make sense in 2020. Check it out in the card above. I think all of that is a helpful foundation, for me at least. I know it's important for me to take things in context, not just what I'm feeling about it at the current time. Sure, it may feel like we don't know all that much about 2020 just yet, but on one hand, we do know 5 exclusives slated for next year. Not to mention the couple games like Bayonetta 3 and Breath of the Wild that we know exist, but haven't been dated at all yet. And on the other hand, this is not at all an abnormal position for this time of year. This is pretty standard for what we've seen so far of the Switch lifespan. So before we go into the big broad context, let's take a last look at the numbers. In 2017, there were 11 games released that fit our criteria, and we knew about 4 of them before the year started, with rough dates for only 1. In 2018, there were another 11 games released along those lines, and we only knew of the existence of 3, and again, only 1 of them was dated, which was done at the Game Awards. In 2019, there were between 13 and 16 games released, depending on if you count games like Kirby Super Clash and Tetris 99 here. But we did know 7 of those going in, with the release year at least for 5. So now, for 2020, we know about at least 5, with the possibility of 7 if Bayo 3 and Breath of the Wild 2 are 2020 games. But then, here are just some general thoughts from me. Considering the current 2020 lineup, are these tentpole releases? Because speaking for myself, I am really excited about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, but seeing as it's a remake, albeit one I actually haven't gotten a chance to play, I'm more excited about it as supplementary content rather than it being the big holiday game. And same goes for Panzer Dragoon Remake for sure, and No More Heroes 3 to a certain extent as well. But if I'm being honest, I don't think those are going to be the holiday titles. It's just a gut feeling. But a last bit to consider as I researched this and made my handy dandy spreadsheet, Nintendo seems to have a habit of playing close to their chest when they're feeling the most confident. If we look back at the Wii U days, they were telling us games way in advance and having to delay them all the time because they just needed people to stay confident that there was something coming at all. Whereas the times that there's more stuff actually coming, they don't feel as worried about telling us as far in advance. So I'm pretty confident that they're pretty confident, and whether that's misplaced trust in themselves or not, that's hard to say. But I think there's still a lot to be announced next year, if I'm being honest. I think 2020 could be something really special, and I think also third parties are going to keep showing up even more with multiplats and third-party exclusives, and indies are never going to slow down on the Switch, so that's always got that going for it. But that's what I think. What do you think? Is the amount of news that we know right now worrisome, or does it make you that much more excited about the surprises that we might see next year during the year itself? Let me know all that and more in the comment section down below, and we'll pull a couple of those and talk about them on our podcast this week, where we'll already be talking about so much stuff. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, comment down below because that would be good and fun and fresh. And then also feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to Fanatixfour and ring the bell for more notifications for videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time from me and from my buddy AJ. And yeah, stick around and have a good time. Merry Christmas and whatnot. I mean, it's not Christmas yet, but it's close. It's pretty close. See you next week.